Welcome to Raven Reports. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a story that reminds us all how appearances can be deceiving, especially in our digital age. Before we begin, remember to like this video and subscribe to Raven Reports for more chilling stories that will keep you up at night. The blue light of a smartphone screen illuminates a woman's face in a darkened bedroom. With trembling fingers, she carefully edits a family photo, brightening smiles, adjusting the lighting to create the perfect golden hour glow, and strategically placing designer items in the background. She posts it with a heartfelt caption about gratitude and family blessings. Within minutes, hundreds of hearts and adoring comments flood the post. She sets the phone down, takes a deep breath, and listens to the sound of her husband's footsteps coming up the stairs. The perfect post is live. The facade continues. The Morgans were the family everyone wanted to be. At least that's what their Instagram account with over 500,000 followers suggested. Eliza Morgan, 34, a wellness influencer and entrepreneur. Her husband James, 36, a successful investment banker, and their two picture-perfect children, Olivia, 8, and Lucas, 6, lived in an immaculate colonial-style home in the affluent suburb of Lakeside Heights, Connecticut. Their social media presence was a carefully curated gallery of family bliss, matching Christmas pajamas, elaborate birthday celebrations, exotic family vacations, and candid moments of parental affection. Eliza's Instagram bio read, "Living my best life with the ones I love most. Wellness advocate, wife, mother, blessed." Each post garnered thousands of likes and hundreds of comments from admirers who marveled at their seemingly perfect life. Relationship goals, family goals. How do you do it all? The Morgans were selling a lifestyle and people were buying it. Eliza had parlayed her social media fame into a successful wellness brand called Pure Living by Eliza, which sold everything from supplements to guided meditation sessions. She had recently published a book titled Balance: Finding Harmony in Family, Work, and Self, which had climbed onto several bestseller lists. James, while less active on social media, was the ideal supportive husband in their online narrative. He appeared in photos, smiling alongside his wife and children, coaching Lucas's Little League team, or surprising Eliza with lavish gifts. Their anniversary posts were particularly popular, with long captions professing their undying love and gratitude for each other. The children were fixtures in their parents' content. Olivia, with her ballet recitals and straight-A report cards, and Lucas, with his Little League trophies and gap-toothed smile, were presented as well-adjusted, talented, and above all, happy kids. The family even had a podcast called The Morgan Method, where they discussed parenting strategies, relationship advice, and maintaining work-life balance. In one particularly popular episode titled Financial Wellness, Eliza explained how she and James managed their finances, invested wisely, and taught their children the value of money. "We're not perfect," she said in that episode, "but we've learned that honesty and communication are the foundations of a healthy relationship and family life." But behind the Valencia filter and carefully staged photos, a different reality was taking shape, one that would eventually shatter the pristine image they had built so meticulously. The first crack in the facade appeared on a Tuesday morning in September. Eliza posted a selfie with her morning smoothie, captioned with her usual motivational quote, "Each day is a new beginning. Choose joy." The photo seemed normal to most followers, but a few eagle-eyed fans noticed something unusual. A bank statement visible in the background of the image, partially visible before it was hastily deleted and replaced with a cropped version. Comments began to trickle in. Did anyone else notice that paper in the background? Looked like an overdrawn notice. These comments were quickly deleted, and Eliza posted a follow-up story explaining she had been organizing some old papers and laughed it off as one of those behind-the-scenes moments that isn't exactly Instagram-worthy. Most followers accepted this explanation without question. After all, everyone has messy moments, even influencers. But for some, something didn't sit right about the incident, especially when similar slip-ups began to occur with increasing frequency. Behind the scenes, Eliza's assistant Megan had noticed the bank statement that morning during their content planning meeting. When she gently asked if everything was okay, Eliza's cheerful demeanor faltered for just a moment. "It's nothing," she said, quickly adjusting her robe. "Just some banking mix-up. James handles all that anyway." She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later that day, Megan received a text from Eliza. "Could you help monitor comments today? Just delete anything." Questioning. "We want to keep things positive." It wasn't an unusual request in the influencer world. but combined with the bank statement, it left Megan feeling uneasy. 2 weeks later, Eliza canceled a book signing event in Boston due to a sudden family emergency. No further explanation was provided, and she went quiet on social media for 3 days, her longest absence since starting her account. When she returned, she posted a family dinner photo. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, and followers noticed the dinner appeared to be at home rather than at the high-end restaurants they typically frequented. Followers noticed, but most comments expressed relief that she was feeling better. A few voiced concerns, but these were quickly buried under a flood of positive engagement. Around this time, the Morgan family's neighbors in Lakeside Heights began to notice things that didn't align with the family's online persona. Sarah Jenkins, who lived across the street, recalled seeing numerous packages being returned to delivery services. At first, I thought nothing of it. Everyone orders things online these days. But there was something odd about the frequency. Expensive items being delivered one day and picked up for return the next day, right after they'd taken photos with them. Another neighbor, Michael Chen, mentioned that he had seen James leaving the house in a hurry several times late at night, looking stressed and taking hushed phone calls in the driveway. He always seemed so controlled and calm in their videos and photos, but in real life he seemed increasingly on edge. It was like seeing a completely different person. Then came Halloween. The Morgans posted their annual family costume photo. They were dressed as characters from The Wizard of Oz, with James as the Tin Man, Eliza as Dorothy, Olivia as Glinda, and Lucas as the Scarecrow. The caption read, "There's no place like home with these three. Happy Halloween from the Morgans." The photo received the usual flood of compliments and heart emojis. But later that evening, a disturbance was reported at the Morgan residence. According to police records, a neighbor called in a noise complaint, reporting shouting and the sound of breaking glass. When officers arrived, they found everything quiet. James answered the door, apologized for the noise, and explained they had been moving furniture and accidentally broke a vase. The officers left without further investigation. The officers, Ryan Miller and Teresa Jacobs, would later recall that James was excessively friendly, offering them coffee and chatting about the neighborhood. Officer Jacobs noticed that while they could see the children watching TV in the background, Eliza was nowhere to be seen. When Officer Miller asked where she was, James smoothly explained that she had gone to bed with a migraine. As they were leaving, Officer Jacobs caught a glimpse of several opened financial documents scattered across the home office desk, with bold red, final notice stamps visible. She mentioned it to her partner once they were back in their patrol car, but they agreed they had no reason to investigate further without any visible signs of criminal activity. The next day, Eliza posted a story of her shopping for a new vase, with the caption, "Accidents happen, time for some retail therapy." This seemed to corroborate James's explanation, and life on the Morgan Instagram feed continued as usual. November brought the launch of Eliza's holiday collection for Pure Living, festive wellness packages marketed as the gift of self-care. The promotional video featured the entire family in coordinating cream-colored sweaters, sitting by a fireplace, while Eliza explained the importance of wellness during the hectic holiday season. "The holidays can be stressful," she said, looking directly into the camera with her practiced warm smile. "But with the right tools and mindset, you can stay centered and present for the moments that truly matter." What followers didn't see was what happened immediately after the camera stopped rolling. According to Mia Rodriguez, the videographer hired for the shoot, things took a dark turn. "As soon as I stopped recording, the entire mood changed," Rodriguez would later tell investigators. "James got a call that seemed to panic him. He stepped outside, but I could hear him arguing with someone about buying more time and moving assets. When he came back in, Eliza looked terrified. The kids just froze like they were used to these sudden mood shifts. I packed up my equipment as quickly as I could and left, but I felt awful leaving her there." Rodriguez debated whether to say something, but ultimately decided against it. Who would believe me? They were the Morgans. They were perfect. As the holiday season progressed, the Morgans' content painted the picture of a family enjoying festive activities, baking cookies, selecting a Christmas tree, attending holiday parties. But there were subtle changes in Eliza's demeanor that didn't go unnoticed by her most dedicated followers. She seemed thinner, her usual energetic delivery in videos more subdued. In a Q&A session, when asked about her 2023 goals, she paused before answering, "I'm focusing on security this year, financial and emotional security." The comment seemed innocuous enough at the time, but would later be viewed in a very different light. December 23rd marked a turning point. The Morgans attended a holiday charity gala hosted by James's investment firm. They posted the usual glamorous photos. Eliza in a floor-length red gown, James in a tuxedo, both smiling broadly. The caption read, "Supporting the Children's Hospital Foundation at the annual Barrett and Associates Gala. Grateful for a wonderful evening for a worthy cause." What the photos didn't show was what several attendees witnessed, a tense exchange between the couple near the bar. James, who had been drinking heavily, was seen having an intense conversation with Eliza. When another guest approached to join them, James smoothly transitioned into his charming public persona, putting his arm around Eliza and changing the subject to holiday plans. The guest, Catherine Winters, wasn't convinced by the performance. "There was fear in Eliza's eyes," she would later say. "Real fear. I should have done something more, but I didn't know what to do. They seemed so perfect in every other way." After the incident at the bar, Catherine watched the couple closely for the remainder of the evening. She noticed how James never left Eliza's side, constantly checking his phone and looking around nervously. She saw how he would whisper in Eliza's ear, his smile never wavering, but Eliza's expression would tighten momentarily before she forced another smile. At one point, Catherine overheard him say, "Remember who's keeping this whole house of cards from collapsing." When Eliza was speaking to a male colleague of his, Catherine approached Eliza in the ladies' room later, asking directly if she needed help. Eliza's eyes welled with tears for a brief moment before she composed herself, saying, "You're so sweet to worry, but everything's fine. James is just stressed about work. The market's been unpredictable." She laughed it off, but Catherine left the gala that night with a sense of unease she couldn't shake. The holiday season passed, and the new year began, with Eliza announcing an exciting development. She had been offered a television deal for a series based on her wellness brand. The post featuring this news became one of her most popular, with over 50,000 likes and thousands of congratulatory comments. But the comment section also included something unusual. A cryptic message from an anonymous account that read, "The world will know the truth soon, Eliza. The feds are closing in." The comment was deleted within minutes, but not before it had been screenshotted and shared in several online forums dedicated to following influencers. Speculation ran wild. Was this just a troll trying to stir up drama? Or did someone know something about the Morgans that the rest of the world didn't? The family didn't address the comment publicly, and their content continued uninterrupted. Valentine's Day posts, spring break planning, Olivia's dance competition victories. But behind the scenes, things were escalating. The Morgans' housekeeper, Elena Vasquez, would later reveal that she had found stacks of unopened bills and financial notices several times when coming to clean. Once, she discovered James frantically shredding documents in the home office when she arrived earlier than expected. When she asked Eliza about it, she was told it was just some spring cleaning of old files, and not to worry. "I knew it wasn't routine paperwork," Vasquez said. "I've worked for enough wealthy families to know when something's off, but I needed the job and they paid well. I told myself it wasn't my business." Then came the incident with Lucas's teacher. In early March, Ms. Patterson, Lucas's first-grade teacher, noticed that the usually outgoing boy had become withdrawn. During an art activity where children were asked to draw their families, Lucas produced a disturbing image, his family standing in front of their house, but with dark rain clouds overhead and his father holding what appeared to be stacks of money with sad faces drawn on them. When gently questioned about the drawing, Lucas became anxious and insisted he had to throw it away before his father saw it. "Dad doesn't like when we talk about home stuff at school," he whispered to Ms. Patterson when the other children were busy with their own drawings. "It makes him really mad." When she asked why he drew the sad faces on the money, Lucas looked down at his shoes and said, "Because the money makes everyone sad now." Dad stays up all night looking at his computer and yelling on the phone. The comment concerned Ms. Patterson. She had been teaching for 15 years and had encountered concerning family situations before, but there was something particularly unsettling about Lucas's words and behavior. The contrast between his description and the perfect family photos that Eliza Morgan frequently shared, photos that Ms. Patterson, like millions of others, had seen on social media, was stark. That afternoon, she consulted with the school counselor, showing her Lucas's drawing. The counselor agreed it was concerning, but cautioned that children's artwork can be symbolic and shouldn't be over-interpreted. Still, they decided a parent-teacher conference was warranted. Concerned, Ms. Patterson scheduled a parent-teacher conference. Both Eliza and James attended, presenting their usual united front. When the teacher expressed concerns about Lucas's behavior and the drawing, James dismissed it as a phase and suggested that perhaps the teacher was reading too much into children's artwork. He explained that he'd been working on some stressful financial deals lately, but assured her it was nothing to worry about. Eliza remained mostly silent, agreeing with her husband and assuring the teacher that Lucas was doing fine at home. Ms. Patterson wasn't satisfied with their response, but had no concrete evidence of anything concerning enough to report. Still, she kept a closer eye on Lucas and noticed that he often seemed anxious about going home, particularly on days when James was scheduled to pick him up. By April, the cracks in the Morgan family facade were becoming harder to conceal. Eliza's posting schedule, once consistent and reliable, became erratic. She would disappear from social media for days, then return with a flurry of pre-planned content that lacked her usual personal touch. Followers began to comment on the change, wondering if everything was okay. In response to growing concerns, Eliza posted a video addressing her absence, claiming she was taking time to be more present with her family and working on big projects behind the scenes. "Sometimes we need to step back from sharing to fully live the moments worth sharing," she explained, looking tired despite her carefully applied makeup. The comments were supportive, but the speculation continued in private messages and forums. Some followers pointed out that Eliza had stopped doing live videos entirely, relying solely on pre-recorded content. Others noticed that recent family photos seemed staged in a way that was different from before, more rigid, less candid. Then came Mother's Day. James posted a tribute to Eliza on his rarely used Instagram account. "Happy Mother's Day to the woman who makes our house a home. We're so lucky to have you." The post included a photo of Eliza with the children, all smiling, with a breakfast tray on Eliza's lap. The post was widely shared and praised for its sweetness, but the reality of that Mother's Day was far different. According to Olivia's later account to investigators, the morning had begun with another argument about money. James had forgotten to buy a gift, and when Eliza expressed disappointment, he became agitated, accusing her of being materialistic when they were in the middle of a financial crisis. The breakfast in bed had been hastily arranged after the fight, specifically for the photo. Immediately after it was taken, James had stormed out of the house, taking the breakfast tray with him and leaving the children confused. The situation reached a breaking point on June 15th, a date that would later be referenced repeatedly in the investigation. It was a Friday evening, and the Morgans were hosting a dinner party for James's colleagues. The event was featured on Eliza's Instagram story throughout the day. Food preparation, table setting, Eliza getting ready in a new blue dress she linked for followers to purchase. Behind the scenes, tension had been building all day. James had been on edge, constantly checking his phone and snapping at Eliza about the cost of the dinner. "Do you have any idea what's about to happen?" he had said when she showed him the menu she'd planned. "We can't afford any of this." Eliza had quietly modified the menu, knowing from experience that arguing would only make things worse. As she worked in the kitchen, she could hear him on the phone in the study, his voice alternating between panic and forced calm as he spoke to various business associates. A complete contrast from the confident businessman portrayed on social media. Just before guests were due to arrive, James inspected the dining room and immediately focused on the modest table setting. "Is this the best you could do?" he hissed. "They'll know something's wrong if we don't put on a good show." He pulled out his credit card, one of the few that wasn't maxed out, Eliza would later learn, and told her to quickly order flowers for delivery. Eliza frantically complied, acutely aware that guests would be arriving in 30 minutes. "And for God's sake, put on some more jewelry. We need to look the part." As she hurried to comply, she heard him on the phone again, apologetically telling his boss they'd have to start dinner a little late because Eliza's having some trouble in the kitchen. The lie came so easily to him. The last update from the evening was a photo of the elegant dinner table just before guests arrived, captioned, "Ready to host. Good food, good people, good times ahead." What happened next would only become clear later, pieced together from witness statements and evidence. The dinner party proceeded normally at first, with Eliza playing the perfect hostess while James entertained his business associates. The children had been sent to stay with Eliza's parents for the night. As the evening progressed and more alcohol was consumed, James became increasingly anxious, checking his phone constantly and stepping away for hushed conversations. Guests noticed the tension but attributed it to the stress of hosting. After the last guest left around 11 p.m., a neighbor reported hearing shouting from the Morgan home. Another neighbor's security camera captured James and Eliza continuing their argument on the front porch before moving back inside the house. At 11:42 p.m., a 911 call was placed from the Morgan residence. The call lasted approximately 4 minutes but was disconnected before the dispatcher could get complete information. Police were dispatched to the home but found no one answering the door. After confirming there were no signs of disturbance visible from outside, they left a notice and departed, following standard protocol for wellness checks with no apparent emergency. The next morning, Eliza posted a solo breakfast photo with the caption, "Taking some me time this morning. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary." The location tag showed she was at a hotel in the neighboring town. Followers were surprised but supportive, assuming she was taking a short break or perhaps enjoying a spa day. 3 days passed with no mention of James on her account, unusual for their typically couple-focused content. Then Eliza posted a family photo that appeared to be from their recent vacation, with a generic caption about cherishing family time. Observant followers noticed it was a repost of an older image. Questions began to flood the comments. "Where's James? Are you guys okay? Haven't seen the kids in your stories lately. Hope everyone is well." Eliza did not respond to any of these inquiries, and comments asking about James were systematically deleted. A week after the dinner party, Eliza returned to her regular posting schedule, but with a notable absence of James in any new content. She explained his absence vaguely, mentioning he was away on business, and later that he was taking some time to focus on a big project. This might have continued indefinitely if not for what happened next, the leak that changed everything. On July the 2nd, an anonymous account on Twitter posted an audio file with the caption, "The real Eliza Morgan. The 911 call she doesn't want you to hear." The post tagged several news outlets and popular drama channels. The audio was the 911 call from the night of June 15th. In it, a clearly distressed Eliza can be heard whispering to the dispatcher, "Please, I need help. My husband, he's..." Indistinct sounds. "I think he's about to run. He just admitted that he's been running a Ponzi scheme through his investment firm. There are federal agents coming tomorrow. He's threatening to take the children and flee the country. He's destroyed my phone. I'm using the landline in the study, but he's looking for me. Please hurry." The dispatcher asks for the address, which Eliza provides in a hushed voice. Then there's the sound of a door opening, followed by James's voice. "Who are you talking to? Who the hell are you talking to, Eliza?" Eliza's frightened voice. "No one, I was just..." The sound of the phone being dropped or struck, and then the call ends. The audio went viral within hours, spreading across social media platforms, and eventually being picked up by mainstream news outlets. The perfect facade of the Morgan family shattered instantly. While the public processed the shocking audio, the reality behind that night was even more terrifying than the brief glimpse captured in the 911 call. After James discovered Eliza on the phone, he had cornered her in the study, demanding to know who she had called. When she admitted it was 911, his face had transformed with panic. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he had whispered, his face inches from hers. "I'm looking at 20 years in federal prison. Everything we've built will be gone. The house, the cars, the children's college funds, all gone." For the first time, he had revealed the full extent of his financial crimes, how he had been operating a sophisticated investment fraud for years, using new investor money to pay returns to earlier investors while skimming millions for their lavish lifestyle. The recent market downturn had made it impossible to keep up the charade, and federal investigators had been closing in. He had been planning to take the children and flee to a country without an extradition treaty, using funds he had hidden offshore. Somehow Eliza had managed to get away from him and lock herself in the guest bathroom. She could hear James pounding on the door, alternating between threats and pleas, his voice shifting from menacing to contrite and back again with terrifying ease. "Eliza, baby, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. We can figure this out together." Then, seconds later, "If you don't open this door right now, I swear to God I'll leave you with nothing. Not even the kids." She had stayed in the bathroom all night, listening as James eventually gave up and began frantically packing bags. In the morning, when she heard his car leave, she had gathered the children from their rooms, packed a small bag with essentials, and fled to a hotel in the neighboring town. It was only then, sitting on the edge of the hotel bed while the children watched cartoons, that she had allowed herself to process the truth. 7 years of financial deception and lies that had funded their picture-perfect lifestyle. Initially, there was no response from either Eliza or James. Their social media accounts went silent. Followers were in shock, many expressing disbelief, others claiming they had suspected something was wrong all along. 3 days after the leak, as public pressure mounted and police confirmed they were investigating the situation, James Morgan released a statement through his attorney. The audio circulating online has been manipulated and taken out of context. My wife and I had an argument that evening about some investment decisions, but at no point was there any fraud or criminal activity. Eliza called 911 in a moment of emotional distress and immediately regretted it. We have been working through some private financial issues and we ask for privacy during this difficult time. But the statement only fueled more speculation and concern, whereas James Morgan began trending on social media, with followers and internet sleuths alike demanding answers. The answer came later that day when news broke that James Morgan had been arrested at a private airfield trying to board a chartered flight to a Caribbean island. In his possession were several passports with different names, $50,000 in cash, and a hard drive containing financial records. Later that week, Eliza appeared on a live stream from what appeared to be a hotel room. She looked exhausted, with none of her usual polished appearance. Her hands trembled slightly as she addressed her followers. I never wanted any of this to become public. For years I've been living a lie, showing you all a perfect life that was built on fraud. The truth is that my marriage to James has been complicated. There have been lies, secrets, and deception on a scale I'm only now beginning to comprehend. She took a deep breath before continuing. I learned the full truth only recently. The luxury home, the vacations, the clothes, the lifestyle I showcased on social media. It was all funded by money James had obtained through defrauding investors. I've stayed for many reasons. For my children, out of ignorance, and because I truly didn't understand what was happening behind the scenes. That night, after our dinner party, things escalated when James received a tip that federal investigators were closing in. He was planning to flee the country with our children, leaving me behind to face the consequences. I genuinely feared for our future and called 911. When James discovered me on the phone, she paused, wiping away tears. He destroyed the phone and threatened to leave me with nothing. I managed to leave with the children the next day while he was making arrangements for his escape. We're safe now. The live stream continued as Eliza explained that she and the children were staying at an undisclosed location and that she was cooperating fully with federal investigators. She apologized to her followers for the deception and promised to be more authentic moving forward, whatever that might look like. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. Sponsors began dropping their partnerships with Pure Living by Eliza. The television deal was put on hold. James was charged with multiple counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and attempting to flee prosecution. The book Balance was pulled from shelves by the publisher. As the news cycle continued, more details emerged. Former employees of James's firm came forward with stories of witnessing concerning behavior. Friends admitted they had suspected problems with the Morgans' finances, but hadn't known how to intervene. The videographer, Mia Rodriguez, shared her experience from the holiday shoot. Lucas's teacher, Ms. Patterson, revealed her concerns about the boys' behavior and artwork. Financial records from the Morgan household over the past 3 years were uncovered, revealing a complex web of shell companies, hidden accounts, and fraudulent transactions. Investigators determined that James had defrauded investors of more than $50 million, much of which had been spent maintaining their luxurious lifestyle and creating the perfect social media image that attracted more victims to his investment schemes. Child Services conducted interviews with Olivia and Lucas, revealing a household far different from the one portrayed online. The children described their father's increasingly erratic behavior, late-night arguments about money, and being told repeatedly that family business stays within the family. As the legal proceedings began, internet researchers uncovered something even more disturbing. This wasn't James's first brush with financial impropriety. He had been quietly asked to leave his previous investment firm after clients had raised concerns about discrepancies in their accounts. The firm had handled the matter quietly, allowing James to resign rather than be fired, and had provided positive references to help him secure his current position. When questioned, the former CEO admitted they had been concerned about potential legal liability and negative publicity, if they had been more forthcoming about the circumstances of James's departure. A pattern emerged of a man who had been protected by his privilege, wealth, and charm, enabled by a system that valued discretion and reputation over accountability. Each time James's behavior had crossed a line, the incident had been minimized, excused, or covered up entirely. The image he had carefully cultivated of the successful businessman, devoted husband, and loving father had served as both shield and weapon, making it nearly impossible for anyone to see the truth, let alone challenge it. For Eliza, these revelations brought a complex mix of emotions. On one hand, they validated her shock and confusion, proof that she wasn't the only one who had been deceived. On the other hand, they filled her with guilt and regret. Had she been complicit in his crimes by showcasing their lifestyle? Had her promotion of their perfect life inadvertently lured investors into James's schemes? 3 months after the 911 call leak, as the criminal case against James progressed, Eliza posted a video updating her followers on her situation. She was in a new apartment, smaller and less glamorous than their former home, but filled with light. The children could be heard playing in another room. "I wanted to thank everyone for their support during this unimaginably difficult time," she said. "We're taking things one day at a time. I'm in therapy, the kids are in therapy, and we're learning what honest living actually looks like, not just what photographs well for social media." She explained that she was working with financial fraud awareness organizations to share her story and help others recognize the signs of deception. "If I can help even one person recognize these patterns earlier than I did, then something good will have come from this painful experience." The comments section filled with messages of support, but also with difficult questions. How could she have promoted a perfect family life while living with such deception? Why use her children in content that portrayed their father as the ideal dad? Wasn't she complicit in creating a harmful fantasy that made other women feel inadequate? Eliza addressed these questions in subsequent videos, explaining how the deception had escalated gradually, how she had been isolated from financial realities, and how maintaining the perfect image had become so intertwined with their income stream that questioning it seemed impossible. "I'm not proud of the lies," she admitted, "but I'm trying to understand them as part of a complex situation rather than just my moral failing." Financial deception isn't simple, especially when it's wrapped in love, family, and a carefully constructed public image. A year after the leaked 911 call, the landscape of the Morgans' life had transformed entirely. James had been convicted on multiple fraud charges and sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. He had forfeited all assets connected to his crimes, leaving Eliza and the children with almost nothing from their former life. Eliza had rebranded her business, moving away from the aspirational content that had defined her career. Her new platform focused on authentic wellness, acknowledging struggles and imperfections rather than projecting an unattainable ideal. She had become an advocate for financial transparency, using her experience to educate others about the dangers of living beyond one's means and the red flags of investment fraud. The children were adjusting to their new reality, attending therapy, developing a more grounded perspective on money and success, and learning that it was safe to express their true feelings. They no longer appeared in Eliza's social media content, a boundary she had established as part of their healing process. Olivia, now 9, had initially struggled with the dramatic changes in her life, the move to a new home, a new school, and the absence of her father. "Why did we have to leave our house?" she had asked repeatedly in the early days. "Why can't we have our old things back?" It had taken time and gentle conversations for her to understand that their former lifestyle had been built on other people's stolen money. During a session with her therapist, when asked to draw her old house and her new apartment, Olivia had created 2 strikingly different images. The house was large and colorful, but had dark shadows in every corner. The apartment was smaller but filled with smiling figures and light. When the therapist asked about the difference, Olivia had said simply, "Our old house was pretty, but nobody was really happy. Here, we don't have as much stuff, but Mom laughs and it sounds different, like she means it." Lucas, now 7, had shown resilience that surprised everyone. Free from the constant tension of his previous home environment, he had blossomed, becoming more outgoing and confident. His anxiety about money, once a frequent topic in his conversations, had gradually subsided. In a poignant moment that Eliza would later share, with his permission, in her advocacy work, Lucas had asked one evening, "Mom, are we poor now?" When she explained that they had less than before, but enough for what they needed, he had nodded thoughtfully and said, "That's okay. I like when you're not worried all the time. And we still have each other, right?" It was a child's attempt to make sense of a complex situation, but it also reflected the balanced approach Eliza had taken in helping her children understand what had happened without destroying their relationship with their father. In her final video addressing the scandal directly, Eliza reflected on the lessons she had learned. Social media allows us to curate our lives, to show only what we want others to see. It can be a powerful tool, but also a dangerous one when it becomes a prison of perfection. No one's life is as perfect as their Instagram feed suggests, not even the influencers selling that dream. She continued, "I spent years carefully constructing an image of the ideal family, partly because that's what sold products, partly because I was in denial about our financial reality, and partly because I was ashamed of the truth. The irony is that being honest about my imperfect life has connected me more deeply with others than my perfect facade ever did." The story of the Morgans serves as a powerful reminder of the disconnect that can exist between online personas and reality. In an age where social media influencers shape our perceptions of family life, success, and happiness, the fall of the Morgan family empire pulled back the curtain on the potential darkness behind perfectly filtered photos. The case prompted important conversations about the responsibility of social media platforms in potentially enabling deception. Critics pointed out how the pressure to maintain a perfect online image might trap people in unsustainable situations, as the gap between their public and private lives grows increasingly unbridgeable. Some called for more authentic content policies, while others emphasized the need for better education about the warning signs of financial fraud. Several of Eliza's former followers admitted they had noticed subtle signs of trouble but had dismissed their concerns, assuming that no one with such a seemingly perfect life could possibly be struggling. "I saw that bank statement in September," one commenter wrote. "I even asked about it. When she said it was nothing, I believed her because, well, why wouldn't I? Her life looked so perfect. It just shows how good we've gotten at seeing what we want to see." The financial analyst Dr. Rebecca Chen, who specializes in the impact of social media on financial decisions, offered this perspective. The Eliza Morgan case exemplifies a phenomenon we're seeing more frequently: the pressure to perform wealth online, creating a dissociative effect where people begin to feel disconnected from financial reality. For someone married to a person committing financial fraud, this can be particularly damaging, as it reinforces the illusion and makes it harder to recognize the truth. For Eliza herself, the journey from performance to authenticity continues. In a recent interview, she reflected on the strange duality of her former life. "There were moments when I would be posting about mindfulness and financial wellness, while our entire lifestyle was built on fraud. The cognitive dissonance was enormous. I was telling other women to value transparency, while I was accepting and showcasing a lifestyle that was fundamentally dishonest. That's the most painful part to reconcile. Not just that I lived a lie, but that I promoted it to others." The question remains, how many other seemingly perfect lives are hiding similar secrets? And how can we, as consumers of social media content, develop a healthier relationship with the carefully curated images we see every day? For Eliza Morgan, the answer came at a tremendous cost. But in losing the perfect life she had pretended to have, she found something more valuable: authenticity, security, and the chance to build a truly honest family, even if it looked nothing like the one she had once portrayed online. The leaked 911 call destroyed the image she had built, but in doing so, it may have saved her from continuing down a path of escalating deception. Thank you for watching this episode of Raven Reports. If you found this story impactful, please consider sharing it to raise awareness about the potential dangers of financial deception and the often misleading nature of social media perfection. Remember to like and subscribe for more content, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on this story. Until next time, stay safe, and remember that appearances can be deceiving.